we sort of step back and think about an anecdote, a reflection, whether it's something that is connected to your personal or professional world, or an example that you're sharing on behalf of somebody else, of how habits of mind continue to transform an individual's thinking or group thinking.
I had some difficulty with my car a few years ago, and so I took it into a mechanic who put it up on a lift, and I was amazed to see that what he did was to crawl under the car. It was all in the lift, and he got out a stethoscope and put it up on my transmission and listened to it. And I thought at the time, wow, gathering data through all senses, mechanics do this. And so it kind of helped me to see that the habits of mind were useful in all walks of life. And nothing has deterred me from understanding that. As we see scientists and doctors and historians and teachers, no matter what is your profession, the habits of mind serve you in performing that profession with compassion and empathy and clarity.
I found that having the language of the habits of mind have helped me, because it sort of serves as a little super ego, as we might say. It's kind of like there's a little shadow that says occasionally, you could have shut your mouth up. It's kind of like, oh, I didn't have to be the first one to jump in and say something. But sometimes, because that's hard, because I'm such a high verbal, I kind of have to consciously say inside my head, as I sit and look very polite and calm, that I have to wait, that I have to manage my impulsivity. But the language for it gives me the consciousness. And I find that that has been very helpful for me on some of the things that I feel I need to continue to work on and get better at. So that's been my story, has been to find those, and managing impulsivity isn't the only one, and to really kind of recognize when I'm using them sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes.
Yeah, for me, I'm thinking about sometimes perseverating on a particular habit gets me into trouble. So to start thinking about the orbiting habits around it. So for example, if I focus too much on creating, imagining, and innovating and thinking with clarity and precision, I start to lose sight of listening with understanding and thinking interdependently. So the interesting dynamic of continuing to be able to step in and engage, and then step back and observe metacognitively to begin to not only see what's happening in your own world, in your own orbit, but the interaction that's happening with the people that you're collaborating with, whether it's a virtual space or a face-to-face space.
So what's really, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
So what's really great about our team is that we are able to not only believe in it, but remind each other when we believe in it, but we don't do it.
That's where finding humor always comes in to play. That's right.
I feel, for me personally, over the years, I have become more conscious of my own thinking. The metacognitive piece has really become more conscious to me. I didn't really understand metacognition, but as I've become fascinated with it, read about it, and monitored my own thinking, I now, well, kind of like Bena, I'm more able to manage the kind of thinking, and I find that I reflect on, why did I say that, or why didn't I say that, or how am I feeling about this right now? Do I agree with what everybody else is saying, or do I have my own feelings? In other words, there's a metacognitive dialogue going on in my head that I didn't used to have 10 years ago. And that's become much more conscious of me and useful to me. I've become more self-critical and self-complimenting, I think both.
But it's also just so endearing that the authors of the Habits of Mind still believe that it's an ing verb for them too. So I think that is just refreshing in this theory that it does continue to grow and change and evolve, not just because of what's happening outside of us, but it's an internal reflection and conversation that you're continuing to promote and hope for all of us as we continue to aspire to being a more compassionate, generative, humane, kind collection of human beings as we relate to one another.